The story took place at one of the most luxurious houses in the city. Its owner was a young man, yet being extremely wealthy and powerful. The man was just 25 years old. Half a year ago, he was just a normal worker. The reason why he had become so rich in such a short amount of time was still a question that no one but him could answer. And the young man wearing blue-collar shirt was the longtime friend of the rich man. Alden was once a good student with high academic achievements. However, after his graduation, he was still working as a normal employee. Despite having graduated for years, the two had still been in contact with each other. While Andrew always had good luck coming to him, Alden was completely opposite. He was the kind of person that always encountered bad luck whenever he went out. He failed with his project, and as a result he was fired from his job. Alden couldn't hide his anger when he told it to his friend Andrew. He couldn't understand why every time he tried to do something, all of his efforts always came to nothing. At times like this, Andrew couldn't do anything for his friend except comfort him. Andrew told Alden that maybe luck was not yet on his side. If he tried hard enough, he would become successful. But Alden said that those who were fortunate like Andrew would never understand his feelings. Then Alden put his arms around Andrew, curiously asking how Alden would become so rich after just nearly a year. Was it because he had involved in any illegal activities? He also asked Andrew to share his secret with him. The unfunny joke of Alden seemed to displease Andrew. However, Andrew didn't bother much about it. He smiled and admitted that him being so wealthy was thanks to the help of a special object. Alden was amazed when he heard that he didn't expect that his joke would reveal a big secret of his friend. Alden was even more surprised when Andrew agreed to share his secret with him. He couldn't hide the happiness and excitement on his face. Seeing Alden being so excited, Andrew just smirked and then smiled, looking so wicked. Then he tightly grabbed Alden by the shoulder and told him to sit closer. The two faced each other. It was only a few centimeters away for their lips to touch. Alden started to tremble, not knowing what his friend was about to do. But what Andrew did next completely amazed Alden. Andrew suddenly sneezed violently as he splashed his saliva everywhere. The unpleasant smell immediately made Alden extremely uncomfortable as he couldn't bear it and had to cover his mouth, but that didn't help him at all. Alden quickly pushed his friend away, thinking that he was joking with him. Seeing Alden being angry, Andrew calmly said that Alden had now become fortunate, like him. Then the two had a quarrel, yet still continued to drink and confident in each other till the next morning. Early that morning, as usual, Alden was awakened by the alarm clock. He quickly reached for his phone and turned it off. Unlike every day, Alden was upset by the fact that he was fired from his job. He quickly got up and intended to look for a new job. But when Alden got up, he started to laugh awkwardly, as he recalled what Andrew had talked to him the night before. However, at that moment, Alden suddenly didn't feel very well. It seemed like he had caught a cold as it was raining while he was on the way home last night. Alden had no idea that he was actually infected with a virus that everyone wanted to have. Thinking that it was just a common cold while being too lazy to go out and buy some medicine, he took out his phone and went on a website to order some drugs. As he finished his order, a message from the pharmacy was sent to him. There was a line in the message that said, "Congratulations to our 5,000th customer. We would like to give you a special present that will be simultaneously sent to you with your order." Reading the message, Alden couldn't help but be surprised to realize a man who always had bad luck like him could win such a prize simply by ordering some medication. But the message that came to him right after that immediately answered his question. This time it wasn't from the pharmacy but from some organization with the name X. The message was attached with a link that led to a mysterious website, and on the website with an X logo appeared a ranking which Alden was at top of in terms of luck. The bizarre message made Alden confused, but as he tried to connect the dots, he slowly understood the crux of the matter. Andrew indeed didn't lie to Alden. as he deliberately tried to infect Alden with a virus called the lucky virus. The only symptom of those who was infected by it was luck, and thanks to the virus, Andrew had become a billionaire in less than half a year. Couldn't wait for any longer, Alden, despite being slightly dizzy, quickly went outside to test his luck with the virus he had been infected with. The first place he went to was a convenience store. Despite buying just a bottle of water with a prize of few thousand dong, he had won a prize that was worth up to millions. However, the virus also had an unexpectedly negative effect, as it had awakened the greediness of an honest, hard-working young man. Alden started to come up with ways to make good use of the virus that he carried, and more importantly, to become rich as soon as possible. However, this virus had a detrimental effect that could physically destroy a human being just like any other disease. Despite being infected for just half a day, Alden started to have a sore throat. However, every time he went out, he always tried to stop him from coughing, as he didn't want to share his luck with anyone else. Like many others who was infected with the virus, they also tried to stop themselves from coughing so wouldn't share their luck with anyone. Having this wonderful power, you could already guess what Alden would do to earn a lot of money. In order to start a new life, he decided to go to a store to get some lottery tickets. To get the first prize, he had carefully put on his mask so the lucky virus wouldn't spread to anyone. Alden just bought exactly one lottery ticket as he wanted to try out his luck. Even though he was mentally prepared, he couldn't believe his eyes as the result came in. The only lottery ticket he had bought easily won him the first prize, which was worth up to millions, an amount of money that only existed in his dreams. As he went to a room to pick up his prize, Alden couldn't stop trembling as he was so happy. However, the room was crowded with people who always came to claim their prizes, and they always had their masks on. The man who presented the winners looked annoyed and tired, as if he had already dealt with a lot of customers coming to take prizes. Alden quickly showed the lottery ticket to the man, but strangely he just briefly checked it, even though it was the first prize ticket. What was even more strange was that the man just gave Alden a small amount of money and said that it was for the first prize. Seeing the money, Alden and the others were completely shocked. He quickly asked him, "Are you serious? How could a first prize winner only win such a small amount of money?" The man became even more annoyed. He angrily replied that since there were too many first prize winners, the initial amount of money had to be split into small ones, and there was no mistake to be made at all. Alden's face became darkened as he heard what the man said to him. He couldn't understand why there were so many people winning the lottery. Were they all infected with the lucky virus just like him? What Alden didn't expect had become true. In less than half a year, some mysterious people had secretly released this virus. Alden started to notice around him. Everyone was wearing masks. They looked sick and were constantly coughing. Despite being infected, none of them bothered to have it checked, as they didn't want to lose their luck. A skinny man standing next to Alden even coughed up blood. At that moment, he began to realize how dangerous this lucky virus was. However, to make sure of that, he wanted to directly ask the man if he was infected with the virus. But as soon as he saw Alden looking at him, he immediately left it, as if he didn't want him to know about the luck he possessed. But as Alden was following after him and the man himself realized that he just couldn't walk away like that, he had to go back, and at that moment, Alden had finally seen how scared the man looked. Alden expressed his curiosity to the man, but the man just gave him a brief answer, saying that the virus would do harm to those who used it to get good luck. Alden panicked as soon as he heard that. His face was dripping with sweat. Alden clenched his fists while the money in his hand was already puckered, being scared, but it was mostly anger that made him furious. Alden immediately called his friend Andrew. He didn't expect that his close friend would infect him with the virus, despite already knowing about his fatal effect. Alden immediately scolded Andrew as soon as he picked up the phone. However, Andrew was still being calm, as if everything was in his plan. It turned out that Andrew initially didn't want to infect Alden, but it was Alden that insisted on knowing his secret, so he had to share a portion of his luck with him. Then, why was it his fault? However, there were still ways to tackle this virus. The first one was to infect 100 people with it. In this way, one could still keep their luck and also their lives. Alden was the 100th person that Andrew had infected, so that was why he didn't look sick and coughed up blood like the man Alden had met. The second way to deal with it was to go to the hospital and get some vaccines. The scientists had already developed a type of drug that could kill this dangerous virus. However, if one chose this way, he would lose his luck. In fact, there was still a small amount of people that went with the second option, which was also the reason why the pandemic had spread so quickly. It seemed like a difficult decision for Alden to make, as it had been 5 days passing by, and his health also got worse. Alden had coughed up blood despite being infected for just a few days. His body started to become noticeably skinnier. His face became gaunt and pale, and then Alden chose to infect 100 people so he could keep a portion of luck with him. The first place he chose to do it was a subway station. Every day, every night, there were thousands of people being at that station, so Alden constantly sneezed and coughed so the virus could spread to the other people. With every train leaving the station, Alden could easily infect 10 people with the virus, and the number of 100 didn't seem too far away. Many people had immediately received their luck. Some got promoted, some had their stocks price skyrocket on the market. Everyone was amazed by the sudden, unexpected luck they received. While Alden was excited as he had just infected a lot of people with the virus, suddenly his face changed color. It turned out that there was a checkpoint in front of him, as the city had issued warning to its citizens about the danger of this virus. Those who were infected would be taken to quarantine and cured in order to stop the spread of the virus. Alden immediately panicked as he didn't want to lose his luck, so he sneakily went back in order not to be checked. Not willing to give up, Alden quickly changed his location so he could quickly infect another 100 people. The next place he went to was a boba tea house that always had people lining up to buy drinks, and in a short amount of time, Alden had infected 98 people. None of them had any idea about what was going on, as they happily received free cups of bubbly tea. It was undeniable how much of luck the virus brought to those infected with it, but no one could deny the dangerous effect it had on them. As Alden was excited to realize that he had come so close to achieve his goal, suddenly a man placed his hand on his shoulder. Alden turned around and sneezed on him, immediately infected the man. Now he only needed to infect one more person, then he would be cured, yet still keep his luck with him. But as Alden still got a chance to do it, he noticed a group of people from the checkpoint coming close to him. It turned out that someone had reported them about him acting strangely. Seeing the people from the checkpoint, Alden panicked. He looked down and ran away, but the suspicious look of Alden gave him away as the men quickly recognized him. Knowing that he had been spotted, Alden, with nothing to lose, ran faster to escape, while the people from the checkpoint quickly chased after him. Alden tried to run some rough small alleys in order to cut them off, yet still unable to escape. As he was making an escape, once again another great luck happened to him. An old shelf that supported 3 heavy pots, which was placed in a small alley where Alden was making his way through, started tottering. As Alden had run past it for a while, the shelf started to break its legs. Someone from the checkpoint group was close to being injured by the shelf, but it had stopped them from chasing Alden, and therefore he had gotten away. However, since his body was weaker, his strength had dropped noticeably. As he got out of the alley, he had no strength left in him and had to lean on a tree to rest. But the people from the checkpoint quickly caught up with him. Alden felt exhausted, tried to run with his little bit of strength left, as he wanted to keep the luck with him. And again, another luck had come to him. This time it wasn't some pots, but a group of people carrying heavy objects had blocked the group of other people. Alden quickly found himself another alley to hide, while the group was still looking at every corner searching for him. This forced Alden to quickly get someone to infect them with the virus. As Alden was trying to hide from the group, he had to go into a small alley, but it was not easy for him to encounter anyone. As Alden was still away from infecting about 100 people, the group saw him again. Instinctively, Alden continued to run away, while the people from the group still tried to convince him to go with them so he could be cured. But that was just meaningless to him, as the greediness evil in him had arisen. He quickly made it to a building while the group was still chasing after him. Alden got to the rooftop of the building. He climbed up the railing, threatened that he would jump out of if they didn't let him go. As they were worried to see that, they immediately agreed to let him go. However, one of them already had anesthetic and was ready to inject him with it any moment he got distracted. And just like that, they slowly reached for him and convinced him to step down. But Alden wasn't the kid. He clearly knew that these people were just fooling him, so he refused to listen to them and shouted, "I just want to be rich and lucky for once. Why are you always trying to stop me?" Right that moment, one side of the railing started to crack. Alden immediately lost his balance and fell. He was so terrified. He screamed loudly, but it wouldn't help him anyway. Dead. However, miraculously, the lucky virus had saved Alden's life. Alden was badly injured as he had to go through special treatment for his injuries and the virus. As part of the treatment, Alden was given injections every day. He also belonged to the groups of people that got tested with the new vaccines. It seemed like his treatment had been going well as he slowly excreted the virus. Only a few injections needed and Alden would completely get rid of the virus. However, there was a scary fact that Alden had to face. If the lucky virus was still in his body, he would probably recover from his serious injuries. However, if the virus was no longer in him, Alden would likely to live the rest of his life as a quadriplegic. This story is about a man named Zhu who was living in China. He was the director of the biggest market in the city. That day, Mr. Zhu invited his business partners to a restaurant and treated them to the rarest and most special dishes. As they were enjoying their meals, the director patted Mr. Zhu on the shoulder and said, "I heard on the grapevine that the market you are in charge of had many wild species and animals. Since you had eaten many of them, why do you treat us to these simple, boring dishes?" The man pointed his finger at the food being served on the table in an unimpressed manner. He told Mr. Zhu that he had tried out wild animals and ones that were hard to find. The remarks from the director caused Mr. Zhu to lose face. Mr. Zhu was annoyed as the market he was in charge of had wildlife products and trades going on daily, and therefore none of the wild animals there were new to him. So that evening Mr. Zhu came to see a friend of his, a shop owner who had helped him finding and purchased wild animals. The shop was located at a corner of the market. Since there was illegal trades of wildlife products taking place at the shop, only long-time customers would have access to the goods being sold there. Mr. Zhu looked at the chicken and duck meat on the counters. He became irritated as he thought of what had happened at the restaurant. Even though Mr. Zhu had allowed the shop owner to disguise the place as a normal butcher shop with the purpose of not letting the illegal trades of rare animals be exposed, Mr. Zhu was greatly let down by him. As soon as Mr. Zhu met the owner, he yelled at him and demanded the man to prepare him a type of ingredient that had not yet to be discovered by anyone. Seeing the furious expression on Mr. Zhu's face, the shop owner remained calm. He smiled and said, "Not a big deal. I've got something special for you." The man reached to his pocket and took out something. Then he said he had the special type of fruit, that he was excited to show it to Mr. Zhu. It was one of his latest experiments. The fruit had a green color and a creepy looking shape. It looked pretty similar to the form of a virus. According to the man, the special fruit was called primitive fruit, as any kind of animal that ate it would turn into a rare species that existed in ancient times. Mr. Zhu was skeptical as he wasn't sure whether what the guy told him was true or not. As Mr. Zhu was still doubtful, the man didn't hesitate to take him to his nearby warehouse to prove that what he told him was true. The animal that got chosen for the experiment was a normal chicken. It ate the fruit from the man, but there was nothing happening after the chicken finished eating. 2, 3, and then 5 minutes had passed, yet there was nothing happening to the chicken. Meanwhile, Mr. Jew was still turning his gaze on the animal. But then, what he was told by the man had become true, as the chicken started behaving strangely. Mr. Jew was excited. He slobbered and there was craving in his eyes. The chicken had turned into a bizarre creature with long legs and darkened skin. The feather's color had altered to green while its eyes looked ferocious. It looked exactly like a primitive animal. Despite its scary appearance, Mr. Jew was only having one thing on his mind, and it was to eat the creature. Mr. Jew turned to the shop owner. He put his hands on the man's shoulders and expressed his satisfaction. So he had made a good meal out of the creature and posted pictures of the dish on social media platforms to show off how much of an epicure he was, and the fact that only him could get a taste of this extremely rare animal. The costly chicken was rapidly boiled and carefully placed on the table. As Mr. Jew was about to eat it, his hands trembled since he had no idea how it would taste like. Jew didn't want to have the meal alone. He called his wife and his children to come, but they were not interested in eating these types of animals, so the man had to eat the chicken alone. Definitely the meal was extremely delicious. Never in his life had he eaten anything that was so tasty and appetizing. Mr. Jew ate the dish until he had a belly full and had to lean against a chair to draw breath, yet he still wanted to eat more. But soon after he finished the meal, he felt strangely in his stomach. His wife and children couldn't understand what was so special about those animals that made him so hungry for them. As they were talking about the freaky hobby of Mr. Jew on the TV, news about a mysterious virus originated from wild animals were being reported. There had been a male person that got infected with the virus. So far, he had developed symptoms such as cough, high fever, trouble breathing, and even had red rash all over his body. The scientists had been working on finding the cause of this virus and the chances of this spreading wildly to humans. But before the result came out, all civilians had been advised not to eat wild animals. The warnings had no effects on Jew and his friends who shared the same hobby of eating wild and rare animals. That evening, as he saw his friends posting a tasty bat dish on social media, he immediately wanted to try eating bigger ones as a way of asserting his dominance. He asked his daughter, who was sitting next to him, "Darling, do you want to have a huge bat for dinner tonight?" The girl reacted aggressively to her father's question. She told him not to eat any wild animals as it would increase his chances of getting the virus, which was mentioned on the news that day. Mr. Jew didn't say anything. Still, he had the intention of getting a bat dish as soon as his wife and children left the house. A couple of days later, Mr. Jew came to one of his companions asking to buy a huge bat. However, as soon as the shop owner heard the word bat, he interrupted Mr. Jew mid-sentence, then whispered something to his ears. "Bat meat somehow became popular lately. I've just refused to sell it to some of my customers, but since you're a VIP customer of mine, I'll sell it to you." Then the man accompanied Mr. Jew to his warehouse as usual. There were many kinds of animals here in the secret warehouse, including pangolins, deers, gibbons, rhinos, sea turtles, etc. And of course all of them were blacklisted for trading. Laying in the middle of the warehouse was a cage containing their small bats, but Jew intended to buy a huge one, so he asked the shop owner to find him the biggest one. To the man's request, the shop owner took out the mysterious fruit called primitive fruit and promised to him that it would increase the size of the small bats 10 times bigger. At this point, Jew had found out that the fruit was actually a mutant drug created by scientists to make changes to animals. The shop owner even spilled the beans that the fruit was created by the people in an organization called X. He even had no idea why they had given it to him without asking him to pay for it. That evening, as Mr. Jew's wife went to her friend's house, he gleefully took the bat to the kitchen and boiled it. The daughter just got back home from school when she heard a noise in the kitchen. She curiously went to check and saw her daddy doing something on the dining table. Mr. Jew hungrily ate the bat like a lion was devouring its prey. Blood was streaming down his mouth. The girl felt strangely. She approached her father and asked what he was doing, but she was shocked to see the scene before her eyes. Mr. Jew's face was covered with red-rashed bat blood oozed out of his mouth while he was holding a bat wing in his hand. The girl was freaked out, yet still calm enough to not let out a loud scream. Looking at the appearance of Mr. Jew right now, one could easily find out that he was infected with a mysterious virus that had been all over the news. Despite her young age, the girl still handled everything perfectly. She calmly kept her distance from her daddy while making a phone call to the hospital to report on the situation. A few minutes later, medical staff had arrived at the house. Hearing the knocks outside, she quickly reported to the staff about the situation and the symptoms of her dad. She took them to the kitchen where her father was devouring the bat. The medical staff was shocked to see him. His face was covered with a liquid that had green color, looking creepily, but they still tried to calm and assure the girl while asking her father to go to the hospital for treatment. So far, this had been the second case infected with the virus. It was said that the virus could be spread from a person to another. For that reason, the medical staff had reported the incident to the police to seal the house, not letting anyone to come near it as a way of preventing the virus from spreading. The next morning, the police had sent people to the market where many illegal trading of wild animals had been taking place for a long time, to arrest the shop owner. At first, he denied his involvement and said he didn't know anything about the illegal trades at the market. But the police quickly found the warehouse where the man was keeping wild, rare animals. And what goes around comes around. The man was arrested and had to pay for the crimes he committed. However, he had no information about the ex-organization that gave him the spooky fruit.